Hello, everyone. We're here for the uh, demonstration on Islam, the last of our presentations for the semester. All right, so Islam, so misunderstood, and I want to do a whole lot of clarification for you. Although Islam is one of the youngest of the major religions of the world, it's the second largest, nearly 1 billion. So, how does it grow? How did it develop? How did it grow so fast? And just as Christianity started with the teachings of one person, so did Islam. This is Muhammad. He lived about 600 years after Jesus, and he lived in the city of Mecca, which is now in Saudi Arabia. And at the time, the people of Arabia believed in all different kinds of gods and goddesses, all kinds of idol worship, and this bothered him. The desert tribes and merchants traveled to Mecca to worship idols, and also this black stone, which is you see is encased in this big kind of box called the Kaaba. This is one of the holiest of the sites in all of the world, right? And this has become this now is a huge mosque, and it's not welcome to outsiders. So we'll talk more about that. All right, so Muhammad, he was a successful merchant at age 40, but he wasn't happy. He was unimpressed by society as it was, with all of its kind of fighting and gambling, drinking, materialism, idol worship. And he kind of wondered what true religion really was. And he was a merchant, so he was always on the road, right? Kind of like a trucker, an ancient trucker. And so he was a lot by himself. And so one day he's just kind of sitting in a desert cave, just thinking about things. And he hears, as the story goes, a voice telling him to recite, to listen to the words of God and repeat them. He thinks he's going nuts. So he goes home and he tells his wife. And she and some of his other family help him understand, hey, like maybe God is saying something to you. Maybe you should listen. And so for the next 20 years, Muhammad hears these mysterious voices again and again. And he believes that it's the angel Gabriel giving him these messages from God, from Allah. And the tradition states that Gabriel took him to Jerusalem at the end of his life. And from here, as he's standing on the rock there in Jerusalem, he ascends into heaven. Um, and this is the place called the Dome of the Rock. And it's one of also the holiest sites of Israel, or of Israel, but also of Islam. Israel, it's the ruins of the Jerusalem temple, right? And so it's the only place, Mount Zion is the only place where the Jews are allowed to build their temple. And so this is kind of a problem because now there's a mosque there to celebrate the rising of Muhammad into heaven from that spot. So that's kind of a big bone of contention in the Holy Land today. Now, Allah, going back to his life, Allah was the chief god of many different gods and goddesses. But the voice said that Allah was all powerful and was the one and only God. So Islam is a monotheistic religion. Um, so now here's the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem, and this is the outside of it. But inside, which at this point, because of all the terrorism and stuff, unless you're Muslim, you're not allowed inside. It's just kind of a dome is just over these kind of this ruins of rocks where they said that he rose out of off the earth and into the sky. More to know about Muhammad, more of his story. He tried to share Allah's message with the people of Mecca, that Allah was all seeing and all knowing, that everyone was equal in Allah's eyes, that no drinking or gambling should be done, and that we were to be kind to widows, orphans, and animals. That's all a really good message, right? Well, the people of Mecca, particularly those who sold idols, were not really interested, and they threw stones and dirt at him, and they threatened his life. So he flees to the northern city of Medina in the year 622. Now, Medina, like listens to him, and they're eager for his teachings, and they build the first mosque there, and the first Islamic community is there. And eventually, Muhammad and these followers, realizing that Mecca was really the heart and soul of where they needed to go, they go back as kind of an army and they militarily take over the city. They destroy the idols there, they turn the area around the Kaaba into a mosque, which they dedicate to Allah. Those who accept Muhammad as God's prophet come to be known as Muslims. And Islam means to surrender to God, to submit oneself completely to God's will. And we're going to talk about this in another second about how this is going to play out as far as like how we accept um, Islam and how it is such a growing religion. Now, by the time of Muhammad's death, all of Arabia had become Muslim. And after his death, the caliphs, these are the religious leaders of Islam, they led the they led the Islamic world. Now, the debate between the different kinds of Muslims comes down to which members of Muhammad's family or what members of the caliphs were to be the rulers after Muhammad. So that's going to be a big problem that we're going to have to deal with. Now, I want to talk about the Quran. Quran Quranic um, teachings that Muhammad writes down. They are taught in beautiful poetic language, which came right from Allah. So as he heard the words from the angel, he wrote them down. And this merchant, Muhammad, there's no way, he was barely literate. For him to be able to write with such flowing, beautiful, poetic language, that was not um, within his abilities. And so this is really one of the most important um, beliefs of Islam is that as far as it being real, that God really did speak to this guy, is that it's like, well, where did he get this? He wasn't educated. And for him to write in such beautiful, poetic Arabic, there's no way. So, what we also want to understand here um, now, the word Quran means recitation. And they also understand that beyond just the writings of what Muhammad heard, the Quran is filled with the stories that appear in Jewish and Christian scriptures. Remember, it's 600 years after Jesus, so all of Judaism and all of Christianity is wound together into the knowledge of what Muhammad would have grown up and dealt with. And we'll talk more about that in just one second.